This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Here now, Tony Bruschi.
All right, we are going to be doing something a little bit different today. You, of course, have been flooding us with questions about the Nancy Guthrie case and the Kouri Richins case. And a lot of them we should address on the air. We should go through them. We should have an open discussion about all of them. So that's what we're going to do. It's Q&A day today. We're going to start with the Nancy Guthrie case. Eventually, we'll move over to the Kouri Richins case and talk about things from the defense perspective and the prosecution perspective. But we're going to start with Nancy. So feel free in the comment section, wherever you are watching us right now, whether it be on YouTube or whatever, give us your comments, give us your questions about the cases, and we will do our best to try and answer them as we go through this today. We'll start, like I said, with the Nancy Guthrie case. 84-year-old woman gone, a suspect on camera that nobody can identify, DNA that does not match anyone. Over 50,000 tips, and not a single one has led to an arrest as of right now. We are about to, we're approaching week 5, basically. We're recording this on a Friday. As we enter into that Monday, that will be week 5 into this, so more than a month in. So let's get into it. Your questions, my thoughts on it. No guess, no filter here. Let's jump on into it. This is from Marcus in Las Vegas. I have to ask a question nobody wants to answer. Is Nancy Guthrie still alive? At 4 weeks with no ransom demand, no credible sighting, no contact, what does your gut tell you? It's a good question.
Yeah, it is a great question.
I mean, this far in, let me ask you, Todd. And let's reframe it for a moment and go all the way back to the beginning of this. Do you think Nancy Guthrie left her house alive?
You know, and I've said this before, I'm kind of new to the whole crime, true crime stuff. First coming on board when the Kohlberger was rolling out. And so that was the first time I had a chance to kind of really deep dive into this kind of stuff. Early on, it was kind of tough to know because we were getting information. And the first information we got days later kind of changed when TMZ was out there and other reporters were out there reporting. And now we're finding blood and all that kind of stuff. So I think early on, the first couple of days, you're like, you know, this could be something. They've got her, you know, they're probably holding her. I'm not sure that the ransom letters had come out quite at that point. But then you started getting more evidence and you heard about the blood on the front porch or by the door. And as time progressed, very quickly for me, I just started believing that she was no longer with us. Like it didn't take me more than maybe the first week to go, something is not adding up here. And the fact that the ransom notes were coming in, but they were going to media outlets and not the FBI and not the police and not the family for certain, everything started to stink to high heaven pretty early on for me.
It feels like when there's no information, you fill in the gaps. And that's what everybody wants to do. And there was information that was coming out in the case. It just wasn't truly, I think, connected to the case. I right away, I was like, okay, the ransom notes just seem like BS. I mean, you had to give him some credence at the beginning because you just don't know, you know. And then after that started getting weirder, I wrote those off pretty quick as being anything. Then you got, well, there's all these gloves everywhere, and we know how crazy that was. And then so there's a glove 2 miles away, Like I said, like you can go anywhere, you're going to find rubber gloves on the sides of the roads. I don't know who's wearing rubber gloves and throwing them on sides of roads.
Everybody, apparently everybody, because they're all over the place.
I know, like, but why? Like, what is the practice? Is it drug use? Like, I mean, but what would you be using the rubber glove? Why does everybody have rubber gloves?
I'm not sure, but I think the moment that chefs started wearing them in the kitchen and stuff like that, all of a sudden it became kind of this nouveau thing to always wear rubber gloves no matter what you do. Either that or we've got a lot of tattoo artists in the area. One or the other, I'm not sure.
Because I'm wondering, like you do find them on the sides of the road all the time, but it's like, why? I can't think of a reason why I have rubber gloves. I mean, unless I'm staining some wood in my garage or something. I don't really think of it, or washing dishes maybe. I don't really use rubber gloves. Then my mom used to, but it's weird to me that there's so much rubber glove use everywhere that these items are just all over the place. But back to the question, I don't think she left the house alive. I don't. I think something happened, and again. So no, I think from the beginning she hasn't been with us. But I'm not faulting anybody for going down the road and holding out hope, especially the family. You got to do that just in case. But at this point, I'm kind of doubtful on it.
Gen Z actually had a question on that, and she says, if something did happen, if it was a B&E and all that kind of stuff, why not just leave the body behind? And I think we've kind of touched on it a couple of times over the past several weeks.
Yeah, I think because Nancy becomes the evidence. And what we've, from any other cases that we've covered, if there was some sort of a struggle, some sort of an incident, fingernails particularly, there would be, maybe they were thinking far enough ahead that if that took place, that somebody's DNA could be under Nancy's fingernails. For whatever reason, whatever happened, we don't know. I think Nancy became part of the evidence, and Nancy's remains could be something that could then reveal, who did this, or lead someone there possibly. That would be my guess. I mean, the only other thought process I have on it is if this was an attempt that was originally going to be for money, just very, very poorly thought out. And she died very early on. And then it was like, well, shit. What are we going to do?
Right. Almost like a panic kind of situation. What do we do? Do we leave the body? Do we take the body? Whatever. And that's kind of where I'm leaning into it as well. Either way, whatever the reason is that this happened, I think there was a moment of pure panic. And they just decided to take the body instead of leaving it behind.
I do too. And I don't know that I don't think it was thought out. I really don't. Another observation that has been made in the last couple of days, the backpack. I was on Court TV the other night talking about it, and the question I was given was, what do you think was in the backpack? It's like everybody's just purely speculating, and my response was a fleece blanket, a Yahtzee board, and Michael Bolton's Greatest Hits on vinyl. Because why not? He was planning a cozy night in that went sideways. But no, I mean, we don't know. But what I was surprised by, because, and they did, I was actually thinking of doing this myself, but Cody and Vinny did this. They went to Walmart and they got the backpack. I was actually thinking of doing that so I'd have it ready for that segment, but I didn't. And so they actually had the backpack on camera, the actual model of it. And there's a lot you can get into that backpack. I mean, a lot. They pulled out, and you could tell it was like just in their production room, and it was, well, what do we got around here to jam in the backpack? So it was like some tarps and blankets and things of that nature, but they were big. I mean, they got a lot in that pack. The thought process I had in it was, it comes down to, what was the intent of what this person was doing? I mean, if this was intended to be a burglary, and I'm thinking there might have been a backpack in a backpack for hauling more stuff out. Get it in there, take it out. There you go. Then you can open it up and go. Whatever other tools you may need to have for a B&E. If it was targeting her, then it would be things to restrain her. Possibly, here's the thought process here, possibly you could fit a large blanket in that thing, or a tarp. So if you were to take a body, but again, this would be assuming that you're going into, and you're going to disable her in her home and like roll her up in a carpet or roll her up in a blanket or roll her up in a tarp and take her out. Which doesn't seem like that would make any sense. Like if you're trying to get her, I would think you'd be wanting to keep her alive and in in decent shape. She's not being rolled up in a tarp. So if they're showing up with a blanket or a tarp for rolling a body out, that shows a very different intent, which again just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. But who the hell knows?
We had a comment from Men's Easy Menus who said that they believe it looks like there's a drone inside the backpack. That person's seeing the outline of a drone. Now, I'm not sure why you'd have a drone with you.
I think that's a stretch to guess, but maybe. I mean, anything's possible. I also have the feeling that we might be seeing Boz Scaggs' greatest hits in there too.
Little low-down shuffle.
Lido
shuffle.
Exactly.
Shuffle. Yeah.
It could be in there. I mean, again, anything. We just don't know. But I was surprised by the volume that could be put in there. Diane in Portland, the gloves they found 2 miles from the house had DNA from an unknown male. It didn't hit in CODIS. What happens next? Are they running investigative genetic genealogy? How long does it actually take? From what we understand, they are running IgG on this. Does it matter? I wouldn't want to be the person on the end of that. But does it have any sort of investigative clause to it? At the end of the day, maybe they'll figure out whose glove it was, and they'll probably have an alibi. That's probably where that lands, if it lands anywhere. I just don't feel like those gloves meant anything 2 miles away.
I can't imagine that they would. I feel like that is such a stretch. And it just seems to me like a lot of what they're quote unquote finding in this whole case seems like a stretch. Like there's nothing that's really evident. There's this, there's this, there's this. Everything is just like they're grabbing at whatever straws they can get at this point because there doesn't seem to be much of anything out there.
It really does. And last night, and I haven't had a chance to really dive into this yet today, so if I'm ignorant on this, I'm apologizing. But I know that there was some video that's come out of, from what I understood, I saw Vinny Politan from Court TV posted it, and many others too, of a vehicle, but it was like 2.5 miles away around the same time. 2.5 miles is a long fucking distance.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is a long distance. I mean, it sounds short, but there's a lot of things within 2.5 miles of Nancy Guthrie's house. And a lot of possible vehicles. I mean, is it something to look at? Without a doubt. I guess my question is, why is it a month in we're suddenly like, oh, look, here's some video of vehicles active in the area at that time of the night?
Wouldn't you think that would be like the first 5 days? That stuff would just be...
Yes.
Right? I don't know.
The other thought process would be, did they already have this information, these videos, and they're running into brick walls on it and it's not going anywhere? So now the investigative thought process is, well, let's throw it out to the public and see if they can figure it out. See if they can, because sometimes it works that way. It all depends on the investigator and what their processes are individually. Some think, let's throw it out to the public right away for identification and maybe we'll get it. Some hold it really tight to the vest and then, because they want to get it, or they think that if there's less people out there basically polluting the water with bunk, then the investigators can do a better job. It's I don't know. It's kind of rolling the dice either way. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that video, but I did find it interesting. What do we got over here in our live comments? Anything interesting?
We got a message from Gen Z. She's usually on top of stuff. She said, remember with the Koberg case, it took 6 weeks for them to find somebody with the genealogy DNA, and she believes that we're not seeing everything they're actually working on at this point, which is possible as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It took less than that. Publicly, that's what we found out. But they knew, and that's a good point, because literally, and I've been bringing this up too, during that whole process with Koberger, and I hope that that's what's going on here. You had Chief Fry at the stand saying in his public addresses to everybody, like, we have no leads, we don't have this, we don't have that. But in reality, the FBI was tailgating Koberger all the way to Pennsylvania, while he's saying that. So they did know. They just weren't publicly stating it. And they actually lost him along the way, too. But could that be going on? Yes. I think you have so many different people in different areas investigating this case in their own ways. And that's where we get so much noise and so many contradictions because again, it's lack of leadership. It's lack of a clear direction and a clear strategy. And this is what you get. This is and what's interesting. I was talking to Robin. We were texting last night about this, Robin Drake. And he's like, what's really disturbing about this is, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing, he'll explain better on Monday. Everybody looks at this and goes, gosh, this seems like really disorganized and really kind of a cluster. It's really not. Like if you compare it to other cases that have been handled in this jurisdiction under Nanos and such, they're all chaos. And if you compare it just to other cases in general, take Nanos out of it, it's about par for the course.
I mean, so far, like a lot of the cases that we're currently covering, besides just this one, you're seeing a lot of like disjointed actions by law enforcement and bad investigations and things that were missed and all that kind of stuff. So I guess one of the things I've learned in the almost year that I've been doing this is seems like that's par for the course.
It is. It's one of those things where don't look behind the curtain if you don't want to see what's going on, because you do. And we're brought up in this idea of like, there's smarter people behind the curtain doing things that need to be done, and they're working in our best interest. And we just and depending on how you're brought up, okay, I trust that. That seems good. And I think the more we look behind the curtain, the less that's a true statement. And we're all kind of shocked by it. But I think that's true in like almost any profession, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's whatever, radio, that was, I always laughed at like when we would have, I was shocked when I first started of like, what do you mean you're not actually tallying the votes for the top 9 at 9? You're just picking these out of your ass of the songs you like? All those sort of things, those facades that we see. And if you think like they're taking caller 9 all the time, they're not. They're going for the caller that's going to sound best on the air. There's so many things that are going on behind the scenes in ways that we don't realize, in areas that we're just not familiar with. And it's no different in law enforcement. The difference in law enforcement is the fact that, people's lives are on the line. They're not just winning a 2-leg and thigh chicken dinner.
Right, and each instance is going to be different. Like you can plan for one of these situations to come about in your community, but each one's going to be a little bit different. Yes, there are things that are similar to other cases, to other investigations, but each one is different. So I guess we have to keep that in mind. It's just nice. It's nice as a member of the United States, as a citizen here, to think that our law enforcement is more like what we see on TV. I want it to be more like Hill Street Blues or something like that.
It's more like Reno 911.
I'd be okay with that too, because there's some comedy with that. So.
Yeah, that's the reality of it. And it's not it is what it is. There are many wonderful people that are trying to do their best. And in any sort of institution or any sort of structure, you have leadership. Sometimes you have good leadership. Sometimes you have bad leadership. It is what it is. You have egos, you have personalities, you have people. And unfortunately, when time is of the essence in a case like this, if your luck of the draw for wherever that jurisdiction is and you got somebody with an ego that can't really see beyond it, that's my conjecture on Nanos. I think a lot of others, this is what you get. And there's not a lot of levers you can pull to reset that beast in the timely manner that you need to when time is of the essence. That's why it's so important to know who you're voting for and why you're voting for them.
There you go.
I mean, the guy won by like 400 some votes when 98% of his union was saying like no confidence. But the general public said, yeah, seems like a winner. Like, and I don't know. I mean, how many times when you go in to vote, you may go in and you're like, okay, I know I'm voting on like this one thing or this one person, and there's like 30 other things you got to vote for. How many times have you gone in and like, I'll do this one? and you don't really know what the fuck you're voting. I don't anymore. If I don't know what I'm voting for, I don't. But I remember like the first handful of times I ever voted in my life, I'm like, oh, I'll just go along party line, or I'll just go along with whatever name seems most recognizable, which is really how most elections are won, is who's most top of mind. Not the issues, not anything that's important, not a scandal, not a track record. It's just what name comes to your mind first. And that seems to be how these things are done. But that is why it is so important. Like, if you're going to vote, know what the fuck you're voting for, because this is what you can get.
This public service message brought to you by Hidden Killers.
Exactly. What is that? What was the question right there?
Identify the gun he has and someone will know who owns one. Long barrel semi-auto.
I have no idea. I don't think we have any identification on the gun. All I know is that they said the holster was odd and oddly placed, which I think spoke more to an experience of the individual more than anything else.
I have never seen a holster like that before.
Me either. I don't know what the hell that was. I'm not a holster. I don't know. I don't have a holster. I've never holstered a gun, but I know that that's not how you do it.
Right?
Like, that doesn't seem like a great idea the way it was set up there. Like, you're kind of waiting for him to bend over with the foliage and a shot goes off, and then suddenly it's an episode of America's Funniest Home Videos, and not what we had right there. Suddenly Bob Saget's back and doing the commentary of what's going on. From Michelle from San Diego, the footage shows the guy's face. It's been everywhere. Well, I mean, it shows him with the mask on. How is it possible that nobody recognizes him? Not a coworker, not a neighbor, not a family member, not a single person who's ever met this guy? That seems statistically impossible. I bet people know him. I bet there's plenty of people who recognize that. I mean, and there's plenty of people who are like just aimlessly making accusations too. But I would guess there's some folks out there that recognize it, but then you have to look at it. Just because they recognize that person, you got to consider, okay, doesn't mean you're just going to pick up the phone and call him in, because what's the repercussions to you if you do that? What community are you in? How is that person part of that community? Is that person someone where if they were caught, that community would look down on you for turning that person in? There's a lot that goes into that decision-making process. And do you want a spotlight on you? Period. If you are in a situation where someone who did this, whether it was a B&E gone wrong or someone who was kidnapping someone for ransom and that went horribly wrong, if that's the circle you're in, whether it's familial or your friends or whatever, the odds are you may not have the cleanest track record either, or you may have something that may not look favorable to law enforcement. So all of those things are being weighed by anyone who may know this person, especially someone who knows that person closely, because it may lead to other things and other people being caught for other crimes. So I think that's a big factor in all of that.
Also, I mean, we've got some of the pictures up on our YouTube live stream right now. I don't know if I'd be able to recognize somebody I know just by the photos. I would have to have intimate knowledge of some of the clothing. I would have to have some intimate knowledge of, where they hang out, where they may have been, all that kind of stuff. Looking at that, there's not, except for the clothing and things like that, from the facial features, there's not a ton to really go on, I don't think.
There isn't.
I mean, we could say, well, he's got eyebrows. Well, yeah, are those eyebrows sticking out? Are those just shadows from the holes in the mask? I don't know.
And that's, I don't think I would know. I mean,
we should do a test next week. I'll get one of those. And then we'll see if you can actually tell it's me.
That would be interesting.
Just by wearing it.
I think you should go to random people's porches over the weekend.
Great.
And then go on the Ring app and then see if you can find yourself on people's porches.
That's great.
What do you got here? What's your next question?
Tony, you think multiple people involved? Ain't no way the single guy is carrying Nancy's body alone.
I think it depends how well built he is. I don't know. I mean, you can't really tell his muscle strength or density from that photo. If you're a strong guy or gal, although this looks like a guy, you could handle Nancy. Could I? No. I mean, but the right person, I think, certainly could. Don't you?
I do, and also we have to remember she was small stature. If you look at any pictures where she's standing next to Savannah Guthrie, she is a short woman. She is not very tall, and I don't think she weighed an awful lot in some of the pictures that we've seen of her recently. So I think even somebody as weak as I could probably walk away with a body if I needed to.
I probably could have drug her out, but I mean, lifting her, carrying her, I don't know.
I've seen you lift a lot. I think you'd be fine.
I before a couple years ago, I had a small farm. It was I know. Like what? Yeah, it was an idea of my ex-wife. We played farmer for a couple years.
Trust me, I've known Tony a long time. When I found out he had a farm with farm animals, mind blown.
Yeah, mine too. And I lived it. And in that adventure of a couple years, we had some pigs, and one of the pigs passed away, and it was about, I don't know, probably 150, 200 pounds, somewhere in that range, maybe a little bit more. I've never, I don't know, I've never dealt with like dead weight of an animal other than like a cat or something like that. And oh my God, like that's some hard shit to deal with, because you can't just like necessarily pull it either, because if you pull on a corpse or something in the wrong way, I'm not trying to be gross here, but limbs can kind of,
Pop
break,
out.
come off. I mean, it's not just like, it's not as simple as it may look. But I had to get these pigs out of this one pig out of the cage it was in, or its pen. And I had a four-wheeler and I managed to do it. But as I'm doing this, I'm like thinking to myself about true crime. I'm like, my God, like the people who are like into like serial killing people and like hauling bodies around, like that's a lot, like that right there. Like, even if you're like so disturbed and crazy and you're like, this is fun, or like, I love the thrill of the kill or whatever, I think the body part is where I'd be tapping out. I'm like, that's just too much work. Like, way too difficult to do the lifting and all of that. It's horrendous. It's hard. It's horrible. So I can't imagine doing that with a human being.
Well, we did have somebody message that they believe that they said she was 150 pounds. So that would be about what you're talking about there. You said 150 to 200. So maybe it's more to handle than I'm thinking.
Well, and it's distributed differently, because it's not like a weight, where it's like, it's all right here. It's
Right.
It's concentrated over here, and it kind of shifts, and it's, it's a body. So it's somewhat gelatinous in a way, where I don't know. It's not an easy task, but I've seen a lot of people say, how could somebody do that? Because people do it all the time.
Well, and if there's adrenaline going on, let's be honest, if this was a mistake, if this was not supposed to happen, and they didn't actually think about you're going to have a little extra energy to do what you got to do to cover your butt. So it's possible that adrenaline helped them a little bit in this.
Yeah. So I imagine that's at play too. But I mean, could it have been done by more than one person? I guess, sure. Is there really any evidence that points to that? No. Is there anything that points either way? No. There's just not a lot of evidence, period. That's what we got. We got the doorbell. So if we're basing it solely on the doorbell, there's one guy in it. Could there be somebody in a car down the road? Yeah, totally.
Right.
But we just don't know the answer to that question. Anything else on Nancy that's popped up here that we want to get to before we go over to Kouri Richins?
Nothing. I mean, it's nothing that we haven't already really touched on. I would just say that there's a lot of people wondering about the timeline and the amount of time that person was in the house. And they also say that may be why there was such a long amount of time in the house, was because they were trying to fumble around and all that kind of stuff.
I agree with that. I kind of feel like that might have been an oh shit moment where, what do we do? And that's why I'm curious about cell tower pings and all of that, especially at that moment. Because I wonder if that person that was in there, either they handled their oh shit moment by themselves, and okay, I'm gonna take her, or if there was some phone calls made of like, what should I do? I don't know. Everyone's guess is as good as mine. I think you're going to solve this with the cell tower and crossing that with something else. I don't know what. I was thinking the Walmart receipts, if they can find it. But again, there hasn't been any cross there yet.
Let me ask you this, because you've done this for a little while. That the fact that they're stopping the constant updates now, those are going away. They've decided they're only going to update us when they need to. It's not going to be an everyday thing or whatever.
Yeah.
What does that say about the investigation at this point? Is it getting so cold now that there's just not much to share?
I think they should have been slower on that to begin with. I mean, they were just saying random things constantly. The thing is, I don't feel like anything they had been sharing was of much value to begin with, other than like they felt like they needed to fill the dead air. So is it slowing down? I don't know that it ever got really wound up, quite honestly. I mean, I think they were trying and looking, but I just don't feel like they ever got traction anywhere. Yeah. Again, unless there's something behind the scenes that we are completely unaware of. So I don't know. At some point here, yeah, I mean, it is winding. The immediate search, the immediate issue, somewhere within the general 2-mile vicinity, in someone's backyard or the desert somewhere, that's winding down because they've done it. They've looked, they've checked. She's not there. So that part certainly ending. And they got a lot of leads to run down. I mean, when you got like 50,000 leads coming in, these are human beings that are trying to, chase them all down. So they're going to spend some time still doing that. But yeah, I mean, until they get something that has traction, it is slowing down. But again, like I said, I don't think it ever really got up to a good speed to begin with.
Right.
So, it's a shame, but that's where that sits right now. Love to see more of your comments. We'll continue the conversation in the comment section on our Substack and on YouTube. Be sure to hit subscribe wherever you're downloading this so you don't miss any of our coverage on this case. Let's move over now to the trial that's going on over to Utah, the Kouri Richins trial underway. And we're going to focus first. We're going to do two kind of segments on this. One on the prosecution's case, what they're presenting, what they're arguing. We'll go to the defense then second, and whether this adds up to murder beyond a reasonable doubt. The state says Kouri poisoned her husband, Eric, with fentanyl for money and to start a new life with her boyfriend. They've got a witness who says she bought drugs. They got Eric's own words saying he thought Kouri was trying to kill him. They've got insurance policies, deleted texts, and internet searches that paint a picture of premeditation. Let's dig into the questions that you've been asking, and be sure to ask them if you're watching us live right now in the comments section. We'll try to get over to those. We'll start with this from Brian in Salt Lake City. Carmen Lauber testified that she bought fentanyl for Kouri 4 separate times. She says Kouri told her it was for an investor. Nobody believes that, right? What investor needs the realtor to score street fentanyl for them? Is the prosecution arguing that was always a cover story for murder? The investor story, I mean, that's an interesting angle on this. We're just learning that now, that it was for an investor.
But are you to tell somebody that it's for you? Like, you're always going to come up with a story.
Especially if you're buying illicit drugs.
Right.
I guess. I've never bought an illicit drugs, but I guess I probably have a story, But it's for the neighbor's cat. They're really into fentanyl. Now, I guess it's, it's kind of a semi-believable story. It's interesting, here's where it tracks really well, because Kouri is someone who's very obsessed with her image. This is my conjecture, and it's until proven guilty. Insert alleged in front of everything I'm going to say for the next 30 minutes. She clearly seems like someone who has the profile that's obsessed or very concerned with image and how she's portrayed to other people, how other people see her. That's how this type of personality profile works. I am under the operational thought thought process of her of kind of, and I'm not diagnosing, borderline-ish narcissistic personality disorder, something in that area. That's my opinion. Those type of folks are very obsessed with their image. The fact that she used it as, it's an investor that she's doing this from, it puts her even in that weird conversation of getting drugs, it kind of elevates her of like, it's for an investor, because I'm so busy, I'm so highfalutin, I'm so important in this business. I'm getting this from my investor, because we're that tight. I'm buying, it's a weird way of doing things, but I can see how through her prism this seemed like a win.
And also, I feel like she did it because, you can't let somebody know that they would be for you, right? Like the mask would have to be pulled away. She's so perfect. Yeah. She would never do something like this. Now, for an investor, for the company, blah, 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 I'll do what I got to do. But she would never herself show that she had that experience with illicit drugs.
Grandstanding to get the drugs, basically. So the investor story I found to be interesting.
Robin just mentioned, and so an influencer personality, I would say that would be absolutely correct, wouldn't you?
Yes. I would say she's very, she could have been down that road. She reminds me somewhat of kind of like Ruby Franke in some ways. She reminds me of Donna Adelson in a lot of ways. Just take that narcissistic personality type that can never be accountable for anything and has a justifiable reason for anything that they're doing, all their modality, everything that they do, everything they touch, even however they need to lie, cheat, and steal and scheme. They will somehow tell themselves, I'm doing this for the greater good. I'm doing this for a reason, and I'm entitled to do this, and anyone who questions me, how dare them? That's disrespectful, because you're questioning, the genius of this type of a person. That's my opinion on kind of the way that she operates.
Yeah.
Stephanie from Park City, Eric allegedly told his sister on a phone call just weeks before he died that he believed Kouri was trying to poison him. He said those words out loud to family. How does the prosecution use that? Is that hearsay? Can they get it in front of a jury? I believe it can come out, and it probably will. I honestly don't know the answer to that in this case specifically. I know like that has been, those sort of statements certainly have been used in other trials. I don't know if the judge has allowed that in, but it certainly has been said. And I would say, I'm going to guess it is. The fact that they've brought up the sandwich, which could be also kind of hearsay-ish too. I'm going to guess that that's going to be in there. And it is powerful. Especially when you look at the character of Eric, and he's not a paranoid guy. If this was a guy who was constantly paranoid, and there could be a track record of, see, he was paranoid about this and that, so it makes sense. He thinks his wife's trying to kill him too. If you could go down a track record and say, see, that would explain that more. But I don't think they have that. They don't have anything like that. So if you have somebody making a statement like that, which is pretty rare, I think, to have happen, that someone's going to actively feel that way and then still stay in the relationship. That's going to be very powerful, I think. There's a lot of things in this case that are, there's nuggets here and there. There's not one big smoking gun. It's an accumulation of things, and you got to kind of look at which pile of shit is worse and then determine, okay, which is worse, but then is that pile of shit enough to say beyond a reasonable doubt? Or is it still just, it's pretty, over here and still pretty, over here? Because you're going to have both in this case. I think the investigation was extremely flawed, but it doesn't mean that she didn't do it either.
Right. You and I had a brief conversation this morning via text, and we were talking about the witness who's been on the stand for the last day and a half, Carmen Lauber.
Yeah.
And there's another piece of that where it's like, her testimony seems to kind of change and waver, and the defense is really going after her about that, really trying to paint her as somebody that's not trustable, not trustworthy, I should say. And I have to be honest, watching it, I kind of feel that way. I kind of feel like I'm not sure that if this were the only evidence they were going on, I'd have to say not enough for me. And I personally think that, and again, just my opinion, I think Kouri probably did do what we all, what she's being on trial for. But I would still have to question whether or not this was enough for me to actually put her behind bars for the death of her husband.
I think if you're just basing it on those folks, no. But where it gets there for me is going to be the digital. and that's what sinks everybody. I mean, on memes alone, just on like the memes alone. I mean, I guess it doesn't necessarily prove she did it. I mean, look, if she was, let's look at it from this perspective for a moment. A thought experiment, if you will, as Robin says. The memes of I'm rich, I'm wiping the face with money, and the Trump I'm rich meme, and idiots everywhere. Those are the three memes that were brought up. That she apparently was searching on her device literally as Eric was being hauled out of the house in a body bag, and her children are in the other room inconsolable. She's looking, these memes are coming up on her device. Pretty barbaric, just, oh my God. But does it mean that she did it? Or did an opportunity just present itself in his death, if he OD'd on something at his own hands, and now suddenly life is going to be good for Kouri because suddenly he's gone, and she's wanted him gone for a long time, and she didn't have to do anything about it. Now she gets the money, now she gets this and that, and he OD'd, so I had nothing to do with it, so life is good, and she's just a cold, heartless bitch. I mean, is that what that is? Because I guess you really could interpret it one of two ways.
She would have to really be a cold-hearted bitch, I think, to celebrate it. Even though she apparently wasn't happy, she had this other boyfriend, she had all these things that she wanted in life. They were struggling. They were having some issues. I think it's really tough. And we've all had bad relationships that we've wanted to probably get out of. I don't know that I would celebrate the death of somebody.
No.
Even if it was something that I was unhappy in that way, that close to the actual time frame of him being pulled out of the house. Like maybe a week or two later, you'd be like, oh, I just feel so much better. Here's a couple of memes about my life getting better, whatever. I don't know that the timing on that is really suspect.
What makes her more of a monster? If she was looking up those memes and she did it knowing that she did it, or if she didn't do it and she was looking up those memes? I think it makes her look more humane if she did it, because that was part of her plan and she knew it all along. She looks even more monstrous in some ways, that this is just her instinctual reaction to his accidental death, if that's what happened in some ways.
So we just got a question from Robin, who says the memes are kind of meaningless. Her name is Richins. How do you prove she was looking at those memes at that time? And then she says, did she post the memes or just see them?
And we don't know that. The way it was, we'll find out, but the way it was described so far in the openings was that they were accessed on her device.
Right.
So that could simply mean, when you go on your phone and you're looking up to send somebody a meme and you type it in and then that's what comes up as an image. That could be that. We don't know the answer to that question yet. But I would just say,
look at it though, with her last name being Richins. Sometimes like you're texting somebody and you actually press the GIF for a meme button, and all of a sudden these memes start popping up. Could she have been typing something else and they just happened to come up? I mean, that's an interesting thought, Robin, to be honest with you.
Robin, you just gave the defense something they're going to bring up now. Good
Kouri's
job.
Yeah, exactly.
Good job. Because quite honestly, I think they're probably looking for ideas. So I'm going to laugh when that pops up in court. Because it probably will. Well, there was... this is I brought up now several times, and this actually, my fiance brought this up the other day, because I think it could answer so many questions, is a hair follicle test on Eric. As far as we know, none was done. At least we've never seen it. We've never heard of it being brought up. As far as we know, that's not in evidence. I could be wrong, but a hair follicle test would tell you whether Eric was a regular user of fentanyl or other drugs. It would tell you that. Or it would tell you he was not. That benefits one of two sides. and I don't know that either side feels strong enough in their case to grab that piece of evidence and go, look. And because either way, whatever that result would be very revealing.
And I know we've had people say he had very short hair. You could only, looking at the length of his hair, depending on how long, how fast he grows his hair, all that kind of stuff. But I think we could get at least some information if that would be done.
Hair is hair. It doesn't just have to be on your head. That would
good
be
point. So he might have some long,
If there's hair anywhere with any length, it's like a tree. It's the rings of a tree. It will tell you a lot. So I don't know. I mean, it's that I think would be very telling. If it shows that looks like he has this in his system a lot, it would lean a lot more towards an overdose. It would be very, very strong for Kouri. If there ain't that, then yeah. The toxologist testified that quantapine, that's Kouri's prescription medication, not Eric's, was found in Eric's blood. It was a small amount, but it was there. If Eric had no prescription for that drug, how did it get in his system? Is the prosecution using that to show Kouri was putting things in his food and drinks? We don't quite know how they're going to use that yet. But yeah, that was in his system as well. And again, I think you could use that two ways. You could say, see, he's just going to the medicine cabinet and treating it like Skittles. Whatever's there, he's just taking some. Or Kouri it could be something, it's there and he takes it every now and then. I don't know how they're going to put that. It is an interesting one because it almost makes you wonder, what did Kouri, so she get the fentanyl and she's like, and just for added measure, let me push some of this in here too.
Yeah. I mean, the mind process, when you start thinking about the mind process on getting the drugs, connecting with somebody to get the drugs, and it looks like from the testimony that I've seen over the last couple of days, there were a few prescriptions around the house in various locations, along with and I'll say it like the prosecutor and the defense said, gummies, THC gummies. Like they're so afraid of saying THC gummies. I'm not sure why. But yeah, I mean, there seemed to be a lot of stuff going on in that house.
And it seems no one seems to have any clue or understanding on how THC works.
Yeah.
They think it's like from the devil or something, and it's somehow this horrible, deadly, scary drug that's literally killed no one ever. But some, and that I feel like they're playing. They're trying to create confusion. They're playing on the jury, also not fully grasping that and going, oh gosh, he's a drug user. He's using THC gummies. Well, like half the people in the courtroom are like, I'm on one right now. I bet a member of the jury probably is on one right now. I was just going to say
probably. I mean, of the two of us, I'm guessing there's a 50-50 shot that somebody here is on one. Just saying.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's not something where it's not 1952 or something. Right. I don't know. I mean, or the 80s or anything where it's it's just not that. It's been fascinating to watch that. Your thoughts in the comment section on on the prosecution of Kouri Richins and where that's all at. Substack or YouTube is where you can weigh in. We'd love to get your feedback there, and be sure to press subscribe. Let's flip it. Same trial, different lens. The defense is arguing that Kouri Richins is innocent, that she didn't poison her husband, that the investigation was botched from day one, and that the prosecution's star witness is a drug addict whose story keeps changing. They're hammering every crack in the foundation. Evidence that was never tested, evidence that was destroyed, evidence that was collected years too late, and a witness who admits she was high on meth during the entire time period she's describing. If you're looking for reasonable doubt, there's a lot to work with. So your questions is what we're taking in the comment section in our live right now. Be sure to drop them. And also grabbed a handful over the last week of what we've been seeing from the videos. This is from Brian in Salt Lake City. Carmen Lauber admitted on the stand that she tested positive for meth in late January to mid-February and early March 2022. That's the exact time frame she claims she was buying fentanyl for Kouri. The defense asked if she was high the whole time, and she said, I guess so, yes. How do you trust a witness who is actively using during every event she's testifying about? Todd, you said you watched a lot of that. What was your take?
Well, and that, Brian, that was my question exactly. I mean, not only did she admit to that, but her recollection of the investigation and the conversation she had with police officials back 3-4 years ago didn't match up in her testimony with the prosecution. And when kind of drilled down on by the defense, she wasn't able to explain any of that kind of stuff away either. So not only do you have the fact that she admitted to using meth during this time period, there's a lot of confusion in her mind. And I can understand where she's at. It's tough to remember specific details this far away from the actual incident and activities, but it's really hard for me to sit here and say that there's anything coming out of her mouth that I find believable in any way, shape, or form at this point. And there's, as we're recording this, she's still on the stand. They're still drilling down on her. The defense is really going strong.
The fact that there doesn't seem to be any real dispute that drugs transferred from the guy to Carmen to Kouri. That process, nobody's arguing about.
Right.
Like that something was transferred several times over. But if you really look at and what's really being argued here by the defense, and I think it's really just to create confusion, is the semantics of it and the name of what the product is. Yes, Eric died of a fentanyl overdose, and in the process of whatever was put into his drink, it was called propofol, it was called oxy, it was called fentanyl, it was called everything from all of these different people. I don't think any of them truly knew what the hell they were getting, other than Kouri said, I want stronger stuff. And that's what they got. I don't think it matters, because I don't think Kouri knew what the hell she was getting or why she was getting it, other than it was strong enough to kill him. Because she made the Michael Jackson stuff reference, which is propofol, which is not something she got. And it's administered completely differently. So it's, I don't think it matters. I think at the end of the day, it's like, look, you kept asking for stronger shit. They kept upping it. What does it matter if it's rat poison or Pennzoil?
Sorry, that caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting you to say Pennzoil. And it was kind of funny yesterday. The defense, the lawyer for the defense, who's doing this witness testimony, was kind of arguing with Carmen about whether or not blues, the name Blues on the Street, actually meant fentanyl back in the day. They're kind of going back and forth. And Robin in our chat actually made a very good point. The defense is kind of coming off as a bully here. And I have to agree with that. I will say that I don't trust Carmen's testimony at all, but the defense is really coming off as a bully. And I will tell you that just watching this trial and even her interaction with the judge at times, he's had to reprimand her a couple of times for kind of her take on things and some of the things that she said about the prosecution and all that kind of stuff. It's a very interesting dynamic in that courtroom. Actually, not one that I've seen in all the trials that I've been involved with covering. on Hidden Killers. So this is the first time I've actually seen the judge kind of get really upset with somebody on the defense.
Well, what is your take on her as an attorney? I was taken aback immediately. It's interesting to me because everybody has different opinions. Bob the other day is like, she's doing great, and he's a defense attorney. I was like, this is like Phyllis from The Office if she had a sister that went to community college to be an attorney. And this is what you got. Seems like probably a lovely woman, probably very funny and has great stories, but not necessarily I'd want representing me on a murder case. She just seemed kind of clustery, kind of like, I don't know, didn't really quite have all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, or might have mixed up what to cross and dot. I don't know. That's been kind of my take.
Yeah, Kathy Nestor does not seem, and I'm not trying to rip on anybody, but maybe not the brightest bulb in the box of that team. Wendy Lewis is the one who's been actually asking the questions on the cross direct on Carmen, and she's a bully, and she's the one who's kind of gotten some reprimand from the judge. Alexander Ramos is the other lawyer who's involved with that team. He seems to be pretty straight and narrow and kind of has his stuff together. But yeah, Nestor is a little different.
What about Bloodworth? What do you think of Bloodworth? I really feel like he could have been like the cousin that showed up for 3 episodes of The Addams Family or something. Like,
I wouldn't say that he's very strong either as a choice. I mean, not necessarily as a choice, but in the courtroom. I'm not saying that he's necessarily the strongest one I've seen either.
But I would say this. I feel like they're all kind of in the same weight class, if you will. They're all kind of like, okay. Like, I don't feel like any of them are really outgunned by the other. I don't see one that's like, that's a damn good attorney. I feel like they're all like, they're okay. So I think that makes the playing field more level because you don't have like a superstar over here that's just wiping the floor with everybody. Anyway, that's just my conjecture, my opinion. I don't know. I'm sure they're lovely people and they're doing the best to their ability. But yeah, I don't know.
Robin made a point about the judge. I think the judge has been very, very good in this trial. I'm kind of blown away by how good he is. But she said that judge, his Barry White voice, I could listen to him read the phone book. He's just very calm. And when things kind of go awry, he's just very even keel, very organized. I really like how he's presenting on the stand. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Grab that the DJ comment there. What is this? What do you make of her covered face and no eye contact on body cam footage? Isn't that deception? A lot of that's not so much what got me. What got me most in the body cam footage was when they said in no uncertain terms that they're going to take him to do an autopsy.
Her response. Because she was already kind of doing this. And then it's like, because he's, relatively healthy, young guy, he didn't say autopsy, but he alluded to it, that, they're going to go test and see, if there's anything else at play here, basically. And when that happened, then it was, then it like, why would you be reacting like that to that? Right. If you really thought, if a loved one had passed away, again, take out of the situation that they obviously were having struggles. She didn't seem to care much for him, et cetera, et cetera. Wouldn't you just want to know what happened? Like,
of course.
And of course, please do an autopsy so we know what the hell went on here.
Yes. Like, let's figure this out. That would be, I wouldn't be throwing my head back and my hands in the air like in defeat. Because that's what that read like to me. Like, oh shit. Yep. Like now, like the jig's up. I mean, it wasn't for her, amazingly, because they didn't like. So there was no investigation. It seems initially that this was even a homicide, because all the obvious things were never tested. But that to me was really telling. If we're to look at the body language, that the rest of it, She's got reps at deceiving people. She's got reps at getting her way for her 30-some years of life and manipulating people. You can just tell. And she's good at it. And she's been able to do it. She's not good at it. She's not accustomed to being told no. She's not accustomed to people seeing beyond her mask. And now she doesn't know how the hell to handle it because it's being called out left and right. So she's playing the Donna Adelson role of, meek, meager. I'm just little me. At least that's my conjecture on it.
What do you think of I've seen some comments over the last week or so as we've covered this about the 911 call and the recording and how she presented on the call. What were your thoughts on that?
She didn't do horrible.
Yeah, I didn't think it was like, I thought it was somewhat believable, more so than some of the 911 calls we've heard in trials in the past.
There was a weird, when you're looking, it's weird because, when you're looking for weird, you're going to find weird. If I were to say something that felt off to me was there seemed to be a sense of resignation in it and a sense of, in her voice, it's this kind of tone of, shit, I actually did it. I don't know. That's kind of what I got. It wasn't hysterical. You got a very different woman in that 911 call than you got on those body cameras.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
And that's the incongruence. That's what Robin would point out. Robin will be here on Monday, by the way. I think is the incongruence in behavior, and that's something that doesn't line up. Because you would think your hysterics would be, ongoing. You would be in the same state. You wouldn't be over here super calm, and then when people show up and the performance opens and the stage is set, now you're suddenly doing this. It doesn't add up. It's one's performative, one's not. It's like two different performances and testing the waters of seeing how is the audience reacting. I don't know, that's kind of how I took it. But yeah, again, everybody grieves differently, and that's the argument that it's gonna be made. But I don't know. It did feel odd to me.
Yeah, I just thought the 911 call was, if it was performance, I thought it was one of the better performances that I've heard in covering these cases over the last year or so.
It is. We should do a countdown someday of the top 10 911 calls. We'll have Casey.
At number 5, yeah, we could.
I'll bring Casey back from the grave, and we'll actually have him do it. That'd be great. And a long distance death dedication. We'll get in there. Lots of questions on this case, and we'll see where this goes. I'm very curious to see as to just how many holes they can poke into the prosecution's case, and what will remain standing at the end of the day. Because there's just certain undeniable truths in this case. I don't care how many holes you poke into it; they're still going to be there.
Yeah.
Her search history, her digital footprint, that's what's very damning. Everything else, shitty investigation. They should have tested this. They should have tested that. Yeah, they could have had more of a slam dunk. There's also ways where this, I think, actually could have worked had Kouri been a little smarter. If she did this and she wanted it to look more like an overdose, just leave some of those pills next to him.
You're right.
He did it.
Right.
End of story. Now they're missing. That's what makes it suspicious. That's what makes it more weird. Yeah, that's there you go. Sad I have to tell you how to be a killer.
You're going to have a class now. You'll travel the country.
I'm a killer consultant. I've never killed, but I consult the killers. Consultant to the killers. Yeah.
And consultant spelled with a K, just so it goes with the killers. It'll be great.
Yeah. All right. Well, your guys' thoughts in the comment section, leave them there. We'd love to hear them and see them. And, we'll continue the conversation there. Next week, well, actually, depending on when you're listening to this, Robin Dreek going to be joining us on Hidden Killers Live every single day, Monday through Friday. He's going to be our co-host going forward on Hidden Killers. So I'm really excited about that. So we'll have a lot of interesting conversation this coming week with Robin and all of our guests. All the guests are still here. Robin's going to be with us with all of them every week here on the channel. So be sure to join us Monday morning, or every morning really, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Central on YouTube, Facebook, and X for those conversations. And of course, the replays, we put them out for you on the channels. All right, we'll continue the conversation in the comments section. Press subscribe. Until then, for Todd, I'm Tony Bruschi. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.